Hey there, today I've got an apple and blackberry slump recipe. For the recipe itself and more information on how I made it, head over to my blog craftyepicurean.com. Now this recipe is what I'm calling a freezer meal, where I make a portion to have now or tonight and then a portion to place in the freezer to have another day. So once again, head over to my blog craftyepicurean.com for more information. So the first thing is to cut up the apples. So we're going to peel and dice 2 medium-sized apples. Now these apples you want to be firm cooking apples. I'm using a variety called lemonade apples today, but they're similar to a Granny Smith apple, which is what we usually use to make our lovely apple desserts. So I've just peeled the apples there with a standard vegetable peeler, and now I'm going to chop them up and remove the core. So I like to slice them into 3 or 4 pieces and then cut out the center core part. So I'm just going to speed that up now as I do that to both apples. So I'm just going to clean those up and then get rid of my fruit scraps there. Now I'm going to bring in a medium-sized saucepan, and I will now proceed to dice my apples. So I dice each of those sliced apples into quite a sort of like a centimetre cube dice, and again I'm just going to speed this up as I get through these 2 apples and dice them all up. Right, so to my saucepan I'm going to add some spices. Today I'm adding half a teaspoon of ground ginger and half a teaspoon of cinnamon. So we just pop that in with the diced apples. Next I'm going to add some sultanas. So I'm adding about 1/4 cup of dried sultanas. You can use raisins or any other dried fruit if you feel like adding those. Now I'm just going to put this on a medium-low heat on the stove and heat them up. Now I haven't added any water, so the steam coming off them is just from the moisture out of the apples themselves. Here I've got a tablespoon of corn flour mixed with about 6 tablespoons of cold water to make a slurry, and then I've just added them to the saucepan of apples and sultanas and spices. Mix that about until the corn flour is coated the apples and sultanas. Take that off the heat and let it cool. To a stand mixer I'm adding 180 grams of softened butter, as well as 80 grams of standard white sugar. You can use any other sugar you want, just make sure it's around 80 grams. Now I'm going to turn on my mixer and beat until the butter and sugar is light and fluffy. And you'll see that there is a distinct colour change when it is light and fluffy and has been well creamed. So to the creamed mixture I'm going to add my 4 eggs, just like so. And I'm also going to add my vanilla essence. So I'm using natural vanilla essence. You can use imitation if you like. And we're going to add 1 teaspoon of your vanilla essence. Of course, if you've got vanilla paste or a pure vanilla pod, feel free to use that instead. Now we're just going to beat this together. You will see that my mixture actually separates, and I end up changing to the whisk attachment to try and get it to blend and become smooth. This is a bit of a mistake. To prevent this from happening, you want to add the eggs individually, beat them all in really well after each addition. But anyway, I'm going to show you that it still works. Now I'm adding my 300 grams of self-raising flour, and I'm just using a silicone spatula to gently combine that and mix it through until it's just combined. It will be a little bit sticky, but that's perfectly fine. and you'll see that this recipe still works out even though the eggs and the butter mixture separated. So here I have a litre capacity freezer meal dish or foil dish and a 1 litre capacity glass dish. I'm just poured my apple mixture, which has been cooling down, into a bowl, and I'm adding 350 grams of frozen blackberries. Just going to mix that together because that's going to be my filling for my slump. Once that's well mixed, I'm going to divide half of the mixture into my foil lined packet for my freezer meal, and then I'm going to add the remaining half into my glass oven proof dish, which is the portion that I want for now, which I'm going to eat straight away tonight with dinner, and the other one is for popping in the freezer to have another day. Now I'm just grabbing my sponge mixture and spooning it on top of both. So I'm basically putting about half of the mixture on top of my freezer meal portion and half on top of the portion we're going to eat straight away. Now this is a job that my 5-year-old decided he wanted to give me a hand, and so I gave him a spoon, but looking at the footage I am wondering how much actually went onto the slump rather than him consuming it. Yeah, but anyway, once you've added that to the top of the slump, you want to smooth it out using a spoon or some kind of rigid utensil, and that's just to smooth the top off so that there's no gaps left. And that sponge mixture will soak up any remaining fruit juices that come out of the mixture underneath when it gets baked. Rightio, so that's all nicely smooth. There's a few gaps, but that's fine. It allows the pie to breathe when it cooks. Now I'm just going to grab a baking tray, pop those 2 apple and blackberry slump mixtures on top of it, and I've already got a preheated oven at 180 degrees ready to go. Pop that in the oven, baked for about 20 minutes until golden brown, and this is the result you get. From frozen, what you want to do is thaw and reheat for 15 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius, or if it's completely straight from frozen, you can reheat it in 30 minutes at 150 degrees Celsius. And that's how I made this apple and blackberry slump recipe. For more information, head over to my blog, CraftyEpicurean.com, and thanks for watching.